Hi, everyone. Welcome to another Tuesday Newsday. I'm Rem Alternis. I'm the Community and Marketing Director for Catalyst, and I'm here with Herb Beas. How are you, Herb?
I'm all right. How about yourself?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here with you. This is our first time officially meeting, but I know you from your online presence and cackling at Gothic people.
I don't always cackle. Sometimes I can say
There's
something
a lot of
useful.
cackling.
Yeah, well, yes, but there's a lot of cackling. Yes.
Yes, there is. Well, I am super excited. Ooh, Ray's in chat. Hi, Ray. I'm super excited to hear you talk about Gothic, and I want to get to know you a little better. And you've got a long history with BattleTech, so definitely want to hear all about that. But I do have some news first. So let's go to the new releases. I've got the second playtest packet for BattleTech, for Classic BattleTech, launched last week. So we've got new proposed mobility rules for you guys to look through. If you want a lot of detail about it, I had Keith Hahn on last week to talk about it. So you can check out the last episode of Tuesday Newsday and see everything about that. But the playtest rules are being dropped in chat. Thanks, mods. The Core, a Battle Core Anthology Volume 1 audiobook, is now available on Audible. So that's edited by Lauren Coleman, and the link will be dropped in chat as well. I kind of like, I see like the little preview of text on these from the links, and I kind of want to read like the back cover copy to you guys, but like it cuts off at a certain point, so it might be like really anticlimactic. So I'll just keep going. We've got The Good, the Bad, and the Sinless by Stephen Dedman. That's a Shadowrun novel. So that is out now, and has all of your Shadowrunny goodness needs. We've got BattleTech Gothic is available as of the 1st. So got a link for you guys to go get your copy of BattleTech Gothic.
What's that about?
What was that?
What's that about?
I don't know. Probably some Warhammer knockoff.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's almost certainly.
We've got available for pre-order now and launching on October 17th, the exclusive Gothic issue of Shrapnel, the BattleTech magazine. So this will include a piece by our very own moderator, Lorcan Nagel. So we're excited for that. We've got stories from Michael Stackpole, Jason Hansa, Tom Levine, Craig A. Reed Jr., and Brian Young. So all in the Gothic issue of Shrapnel. So that link is coming to chat as well. The October free BattleTech fiction, The Fox Marauders, a BattleTech Gothic short story by Brian Young, is dropping, or should be available now on the Catalyst store. So we have the link for that. Sorry, mods, I always try to like slow this down so that you're not just like copy, paste, but you know, stuff happens. October free Shadowrun fiction, Calaveras and Chrome by Christopher D. Schmitz is out. And I definitely see the back cover copy, but it cuts off mid-sentence. So that's another short story for free. We've got Shadowrun Risks and Rewards, the new source book. Discover the sand-covered legends of the Sixth World's Egypt. So we've got some good plot hooks in there and some deep lore for you. So that's exciting. Also, something cool about Risks and Rewards. It's the first book that we've dropped that I know we've talked before about the Dragon Scroll with artwork by Echo Chernik. And when it's ready, I think it's getting closer and closer, there's going to be an app that you can use to read the scroll and see a bunch of extra secrets in AR. And there's going to be some secrets within Risks and Rewards as well that you'll be able to use with that. So that's some kind of deep lore, exciting stuff. And then the TRO Commemorative Edition 3025 is available through PDF, but we did run out of copies, so we are transferring more copies over, and the physical copies will be back up very, very soon. Awesome. All right. So if you guys have questions for Herb, feel free to drop them in the chat throughout our conversation. And the mods will feed those to me. But in the meantime, hi Herb.
Howdy.
I liked your answer to this when we were in the pre-show, so I'm going to bring it up again. But ever since I first heard your name, I was like, how did we never get a Herb Beas Irby?
Well, like I said, it was more or less because I refused to call attention to it.
Just hope nobody notices.
and it apparently it worked. So
for a really long time.
We didn't get the nuclear Irby until just about the end of my time running the Jihad arc, and then after that, it was kind of like nobody seemed to notice.
I think everyone knew you first, and so when I came on and like I heard all like the eye rolling about Irbies and stuff like that, and then people would start to talk about this Herb Beas character, my brain would go Irbies. So I kind of put it together backwards in that way. But I think that would be really fun. Now you've been with, can you kind of like, let's start at the beginning. Like, how did you first get into BattleTech as a player, as an interest, stuff like that?
I began playing BattleTech, I think, just before the end of high school. And we got into a very long-running BattleTech campaign, role-playing and tabletop, just a weekly game that I eventually became the GM for. And I'd always been, trying to be a sci-fi writer. And so at a certain point, I just started submitting ideas to FASA. I pitched a novel, I pitched an entire adventure pack, or I might have pitched two of them to FASA. And while they obviously never ran with them, but I did get what felt like a test, complete with essay questions and multiple choice. What I didn't realize is it was a contest for new writers, and it like even included like a style guide and stuff like that. But it was like obviously I did pretty well, and I guess that was it was probably a similar thing to what Bones was going through, Chris Strawson, because we both got brought on at about the same time. And yeah, my first professional gig was to do the Hell's Horses entry in the Crusader Clans Field Manual.
Cool.
And then the quick follow-up was the TRO 3060, and their related units. So from there, it was just, I basically was just kind of a starting up-and-coming sourcebook writer. Then
was this the first gaming company that you worked for with FASA?
Yep.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Yep. That was my very first professional gig.
Awesome.
I mean, before this, it was the college newspaper doing a comic, and the college literary journal where I got a short story in.
Oh, cool.
Won a local contest. So
man, just like leave college and jump right into the gaming industry. That's a dream.
Basically, yeah.
I could get a big kid job, or I could write for BattleTech, and that sounds way better.
Well, writing doesn't, obviously, make a lifestyle. So there's plenty of day jobs on the side.
Fair.
In all of this.
So how long were you? I know you became BattleTech line developer. Was that at FASA or was that in the Catalyst era?
FASA had folded. We shifted over to FanPro, FanPro US, I should say. And it was during that time that I basically became Randall's assistant line developer.
Ooh.
Um, and that was about the point that, obviously, because FASA had folded, I was also doing work for WizKids, writing material for WizKids that went on their website for the Dark Age, including the first Touring the Stars, where it was the first introduction of Bertram Habeas, which is not a name that I created. They gave it to me, and I just, okay, they gave a name to this guy, and I had in my head that he was kind of like the historian that you see very briefly in the Monty Python and the Holy Grail. So, I just
Awesome.
had this mental image of that person trying to describe the inner sphere. So, it was doing that, doing the planetary write-ups for their interactive map and some other things, cards, some information on cards or pilot cards and stuff like that. Even did a little for Mage Knight, as I recall. And then, when they shifted to classic BattleTech through FanPro, worked with them, and ended up becoming the assistant to Randall. And there was plans to do the Jihad, but could only get so far into it because WizKids was constantly telling us, don't go this far, don't go this far. So we sat in 3067 for the longest time.
Oops.
But then, we also came out with, that was also when Battlecore was created. So did some fiction there. And then when we shifted over to Catalyst, when it was fully moved over into Catalyst, that's when, that's about the point where I became line developer.
Awesome. How long were you line developer for?
I think it's 7 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think it's 7 years.
And how long was this entire period working on BattleTech? I mean, I guess you're still working on BattleTech, so like.
And it's kind of weird. It's just kind of like I came back to BattleTech. It's I was gone for a couple of years.
Okay.
But from the start, from FASA, that was 90. I call it 96 because that's when I would have been writing the material. But the publication is 97.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And then Catalyst opened in 2007, I believe. Am I crazy?
Something around there.
Yeah.
I'd have to look it up. The memory starts to rust after a while.
And then you said line developer for 7 years. Did you leave Catalyst at that point? Is that when you took the break?
Not exactly. After the line developer phase, I basically was an considered an in-house writer for a couple of years, and then shifted back to freelance.
Okay.
And at a certain point, just basically stopped working for about a couple of years.
Okay. Did you was it a burnout? Was it doing something else? Was it any
burnout would be kind of part of it.
Okay.
It certainly would be kind of part of it. I mean, that was part of the reason of the standing down from developer duties. Is a bit on that burnout aspect. Fair. So because after a while, when you're the developer, it's one of those things that they always say, do something that you enjoy doing and you'll never work a day in your life. Those people are liars.
Yeah, they are.
Okay, because once you take something that you love to do and it becomes your job, there is always going to be an aspect that you start to resent, because not everything that you write is necessarily what you wanted to write.
Yeah, fair.
And toward the end, I was having more fun doing April 1 and Halloween gag products and other small, essentially silly PDF type work than I was advancing, you know, major line books and trying to fluff out a schedule, fluff out the book line schedule. I was making sure they got done, but I wasn't doing as much of the active writing on them.
Sure.
It was so I was ending up doing less writing
Mm.
and more just directing. So like I said, there's a certain amount of burnout there. And then there's yeah.
Okay. So,
Um,
um, with I remember my question. So, one of the things we like to giggle up about a little behind the scenes is you're not official until you've ruined BattleTech in some way. So,
I
what
did
is
that from the start.
what is your, do you have a story? Like Randall likes to giggle about like, oh yeah, well, it's been a while since I've ruined BattleTech, time to do it again. Do you have a story of like what was the release or the product or whatever that like you got the most banged up for?
I mean, I ran the jihad.
Okay,
Like
okay.
literally every book was ruining BattleTech at that thing.
Okay. The
Uh,
jihad is your fault. Got it.
every single, yeah, even though the jihad was like sketched out in FASA's plans, even though WizKids used the jihad as a plot device to give us a period of post-war shell shock and a period of peace and to jump us to the dark age. All of that was already there when I came along.
But it's
But
still
an
your
awful
fault.
lot of it astonishingly undetailed. Um, but I'm responsible. So I line
I,
developed through the entire arc. Because of the lack of novels, we had to do it in source book format, and because it was one of those types of wars that was going to stretch on and on and on through years, rather than be resolved in the span of two novels, and we tell it a post-mortem style. There was an awful lot of I went with a fog of war approach of the what I called the CNN as it happens approach, because that was my recollection of kind of like um, back when we had the first Gulf War,
mm,
was about how you just follow everything going a breakneck pace like that, and you learn more details only after you know the dust settles from several months before. So I was
gotcha.
doing that with the whole process, because largely we didn't have a fiction outlet
Right.
for it. So that that whole stretch of period is Herbert and BattleTech, with each and every book he put out.
I figured you had to have a pretty big history of it in order to have the reactions on social media that you do now. My introduction to Herb, folks, is on the periodically, I get the as I'm scrolling, I get all the Catalyst posts and stuff like that, and I just see comments that are just Herb going ha 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 for like 4 lines. And then
That's
I was like,
that's,
well,
that's
I'll
me.
add Herb as a friend, and then I start just seeing vague book postings that are just ha 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 ha, and people commenting, did someone comment on Gothic again?
Yep.
So right before we get into Gothic, after your break, did you come back pre-Gothic? What have you been working on since then? And then or has it just been yeah, I'll come back for Gothic?
When I kind of phased out of working with Catalyst, I toyed with a couple of game concepts that I was coming up with. They were games that I pitched to FASA Catalyst, but Catalyst didn't bite. And I toyed with them. And as I gradually toyed with them more, I'm like, do I really want to put myself in a developer's role again? And they gradually morphed into essentially uh, story fiction.
Oh, okay.
And I even wrote a full novel for one of them and a half of another one because I didn't want to, I was going to self-publish them.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't, I commissioned an artist to do a cover. I paid an editor, went through an entire book, and I'm like, okay, now I want to get a second one ready to go as a follow-up before I publish. And then I hit writer's block about halfway in. And while I hit writer's block about halfway in, I went, let's see, I started a novel length story all the way back in the Battlecore years based on the discovery of Jardine, which because I became line developer, I didn't have time to go much farther in. And by that point, I basically had only published 2/3 of the whole story through Battlecore.
Okay.
So the third book, I had it outlined so thoroughly that there was even bits of dialogue ready to go, details on scenes and such like that. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to finish this. And figuring that I was completely on the outs with Catalyst, I decided I was going to start releasing it for free on the BattleTech forums and the fan fiction board. And I got like 2 chapters in and all of a sudden got asked, why didn't you try to sell this to us? Ray, I think, came to me and asked me that. Why didn't you try to sell this to us? Because I figured we might burn bridges. I didn't think we were speaking.
Aww.
So we got to negotiating and they bought the third part. So now finally the quest for Jardine was completed.
Awesome.
And it started with, like I said, I just felt like, I was long overdue for having finished it, even though I knew how it was meant to end. And we had seeded much of the Jihad lore. I had seeded the facts and what became of all this into the lore. So it was already in my mind up here, already finished, but never written out for everybody's benefit to read.
Right.
So I had done that. And then got it in my head that, I'd just go back to making, fun adventures for Halloween and April Fool's Day. And that's exactly what I ended up doing. I would just write these things and I'd write them without a contract, without permission, essentially. And I just present them to Ray because it's just like, when it comes to the joke products, what they want is something ready to go that they don't have to invest in and crack a whip for. So basically they have to be fully written when I present them. And if they say no, well, that also ends up on a fan forum somewhere. For example, Ray did reject my Tetate adventure. So that's on the forums. It's a full-blown, a time of war role-playing adventure based on the Tetate, the bird people, and other little fun things that I've done on the side as well that are all basically ended up in the fan fiction boards.
Awesome.
Stuff that I knew I couldn't sell necessarily. But
still giving that to the community is fun.
But still trying to give it to the community. And if I could get paid for it as well, that's great. So that's when I would try to just say, hey, Ray, are you interested in this? Would you want to publish this? And he'd say yeah or no, as the case may be. And so that's how I basically ended up writing for Catalyst again. I've basically been doing the joke stuff.
So speaking of joke stuff,
Actually, I call it joke stuff, but some of it's gone canon, so it's not a joke anymore.
So how did Gothic come up?
Gothic came as a surprise to me. I did not pitch Gothic. They came to me and said, well, Lauren's got this idea of trying to do a a series of box sets that are still BattleTech, but have a different aesthetic. Or like the first one they want to do is a Gothic style. But they're also planning other ones like what we're calling rockets and ray guns, which is more like an atom punk style, and an anime one. And I ended up pitching after that at least 12 different takes on the BattleTech universe.
Awesome.
I've thrown a World War II pitch in, a World War II style pitch, I should say. I've thrown a Western pitch. I think I threw a Mafia pitch in there.
Ooh.
There's steampunk, where everything is moving. All the mechs are run by clockwork mechanisms, and there's brass everywhere, things like that. So I threw all that. There's even a fantasy one, which chances are, if that ever happens, it's going to look like it's almost going to look like World of Warcraft, I would imagine. with the way the goblins and gnomes in World of Warcraft make mechs that just look like they've been put together with the crudest possible tools, and basically are running by magic. But that's BattleTech for you. So things like that. And that's just it. When he threw it at me, I'm like, well, how would you do this, Herb? I'm like, well, we already have the fun project of Nebula, California, where we literally warp the laws of BattleTech physics. Or we have like Halloween Adventures, where it could have happened in our universe, or, you misjumped into a slightly different universe. We could do it either way. Lauren said, no, play it straight. It's not to be presented from the perspective of BattleTech as we know it. It's a universe unto itself.
Okay.
So that's why Gothic is not framed as, in-universe fiction, for example. It is literally an alternate BattleTech universe.
Right.
However, it still, at the end of the day, has to be BattleTech. It has to be recognizable as such. You have to be able to go, well, that's definitely House Steiner, that's definitely House Davian, that's definitely House Merrick, and all of them. You have to see it enough. I explained it to someone else that the way I see alternate realities is the alternate reality can be as weird and as wacky and as wild as you want it, but the joy is in the contrast. So you have to be able to make the contrast visible and easy. If you get too esoteric with it, it's not just an alternate universe. It may as well not be BattleTech.
Right.
And the goal is it's got to be BattleTech.
Yeah.
But I also, whenever I make any of my fun projects, it has to bring you something new.
Yeah.
It has to bring you something crunchy, new, unique, and yeah.
Why was Gothic chosen as the first one? Like from my perspective, I don't get to see things really until they're like almost ready to market.
I don't know. That was essential. Once again, that was not a choice given to me. That was that was told.
But as you approached it, like I know they said play it straight. Was there like obviously, like the way I've heard it is like it's totally like not Warhammer, right?
Well, yeah.
Like, is it tongue in cheek? Is it an homage? It's like, what was the feeling behind the scenes to set this up?
The thing is, I know next to nothing about Warhammer 40K.
Okay.
The Warhammer setting. I have a friend. I have one or two friends and a nephew who have played it or have dabbled in it. They have explained stuff about the setting to me, and I think my eyes glaze over halfway through because they never get very far, and I never absorb very much. I know mostly what would almost amount to a meme version of Warhammer 40K.
Okay.
I get this image in my head of clearly steroid-infused muscle men in impractically overdone armor with too many skulls, too many, flying churches, and everybody yelling heresy every 5 words. That's my impression of of the Warhammer 40K setting. I know it's more nuanced than that. I know there's aspects of there's the alien threat. Hyperspace is literally the hell dimension. It's forces of chaos versus forces of versus humanity, essentially, and other alien races, that many of which are taken from classic fantasy. So there's orcs and stuff like that. And I get some of the idea, the nuance of it, but I don't know enough, in my opinion. I don't really know enough to make a fair parody of it.
Okay.
So when they said Gothic, I'm like, okay, they already told me the artistic style is going to be this kind of medieval Gothic style. There is going to be the church spire-y look and things like that nature. I didn't want to bring in aliens. I didn't want to bring in demons. Instead, I ended up with something that was more like I thought of classic Gothic literature, like Mary Shelley. Essentially vampire lore and Frankenstein kind of thing.
Okay.
And I realized there's actually little bits of actual BattleTech lore that suggest ways that you could do it.
Ooh.
In the BattleTech setting. There's some of these things are literally flippant remarks made by characters in novels or source books. So I just said, okay, they made in this universe, they took alien fauna and weaponized them.
Ooh.
Since I looked at it, and I'm like, yeah, but we already had made rules for what organic creatures would do to mechs, and it's not impressive. I'm like, yes, but they'll cyborg them up. And they'll do things that are just not natural at all with these physical creatures to make them a threat to armored units. So I made the little tweak here, a little tweak there, and the idea was that essentially mankind made its own existential crisis in the form of monstrous creatures that, if they don't control them, could destroy them. And another thing I like to say when I'm explaining science fiction to people that aren't really into it is science fiction is often the story of someone came up with a remarkable idea to solve a problem, and then the assholes got a hold of it. And well, in this case, the BattleTech universe is nothing if not run by assholes. This is every house lord, every general, every corporate entity, a whole bunch of a whole bunch of the people that are up in the power, the highest tiers of power, are just assholes. There's no better term for it.
It's the Game of Thrones element of the political structure.
Effectively, yes. And it's just like, how can we turn this to our advantage or misuse it to our advantage? And then, boom, abominations. And naturally, the disasters that will befall using this stuff indiscriminate. So the BattleTech, the Gothic universe was one that's basically in a declining state, even worse than the succession wars of our time. And so that definitely not 40K inspired. Except they're, obviously aesthetic elements, but these are aesthetic elements that are also common in an awful lot of medieval Gothic lore and story and film.
Awesome.
Things of that nature. That's what I was going for.
Awesome. Neat. That's something I wouldn't have known without having talked to you. So that's really exciting. It's
why I cackle. It's one of the largest reasons I cackle when the criticisms come in is, oh, Herb was stealing from 40K and Trench Crusade. First, I never even heard of Trench Crusade until I was halfway through writing this. And I even had to ask, what's Trench Crusade? And it's just like, is it 40K? And I've been told that it's not 40K. So I don't even know for sure if it's 40K or not, or somebody's pulling my leg. But, and then there's, 40K stuff. Oh yeah, there's going to be every once in a while a little tweak. because I had fun with. I mean, somebody noticed that in the fiction I named a character Wog, just Wog. It's just like, and somebody goes, and the editor went, "I saw what you did there." I'm like, name himself Wog, because that's what the orcs all yell in 40K, according to the the various memes I see. It's just a whole bunch of Wog. He named himself Wog. That's about it.
Cute.
So yeah, that's what makes me cackle. It's like Herb stole from 40K. Herb doesn't know enough about 40K to steal from it. It just, I could not tell you any. I'm told that it came out looking more like Doom, and to a certain extent, I saw that myself while I was creating it, and started to make a fun project where I was calling them Doom Abominations.
Aw.
So I did make, just for my own amusement, Doom style abominations that I did not publish in the product.
Awesome. Now, one of the things, the accusations that people like to make is there it is that Catalyst is spending their existing resources on Gothic and the alternate universes, which is slowing down the main line. And I think we've heard a little from you now that, like, other than like until Quest for Jardine and stuff, you weren't really doing much freelance work for Catalyst. So like you've been it, right? You're the only one working on Gothic.
At least, yes. I was the only one doing any writing on Gothic, and I was not assigned to. I had no other serious commitments.
Mm-hmm.
The only other things that I'm doing, as a matter of fact, it's the same situation right now. I'm working on the rockets and ray guns one, and at the same time I'm writing. I'm trying to shepherd the Halloween adventure, which I wrote in full. Again, like I said before, I do these things in full.
Well, now the Halloween adventure, then, if it's delayed, there's gonna be, like, don't delay because of alternate universes, Herb.
No, the writing is done.
Okay.
The writing is done. I believe it's even been reviewed. It's supposed to go to an editor. But for whatever reason, I keep having to tap their shoulders like every week or so and say what's going on, because I mean, it's got to get the layout.
Yeah.
Hey
Ray, what's going on?
And it's like I don't know what's going on, and I have to keep tapping Ray's shoulder, going, "What's going on?" And then I start crying and getting nervous, and he stops paying attention to me.
Because those resources shouldn't be stopped for alternate universes.
No, but for me,
our joke projects cannot be delayed.
My jokes will not. I can assure you that at least it's not happening on my end.
Awesome.
Because as we speak, I've finished that adventure and it's handed in, and it's just waiting to go through a couple more steps.
Cool.
Which is a quick editorial pass and then layout. Mm-hmm. And hopefully it'll be out by Halloween.
Yeah, we've got 24 days. That's
my hope. I don't know if it'll happen, but if it doesn't happen, I promise you it isn't me.
Okay.
Because I'm already on the April Fool's one.
Yeah.
I'm already on an April 1.
Awesome. So in terms of now that Gothic is out there, like, we've been talking about it for quite a while and stuff like that, and it's been gearing up. And I know even when I reached out to you to come on the show, you were like, "Oh, it's releasing? I thought it was already out." Mm-hmm. So like
there were. It's like I hear about it and it's just like, it's out. Oh, but it was only out for Gen Con.
Yeah.
Oh, and it also appeared at this con before. I can't remember which one that was.
Might have been Adepticon. They might have done a couple copies.
Adepticon. Yeah, that was Adepticon. So it was out for Adepticon. It was out for Gen Con. And then it would get mentioned again here and there. I was at... Ray will tell me what this con is, or will tell chat what con this was. But they called it... Internally, they called it BattleTech on a Battleship. It was at Fall River in Massachusetts, which I thought was a really inspired choice of locale. That was, I didn't even know that you could do that. So I went and visited them there, and he had salvage boxes to offer as, I guess it was meant for like prize support or something like that. So I knew the figures are out in the wild. I knew that some people had copies of the box set. So when when you go, okay, it's not released yet, I'm like, where are the boxes coming from then?
Like maybe
That
1,000
else
people
has.
have minis, but that's it.
Because I don't have a box.
Well, it is officially out, so you can get your copy on the Catalyst store. I do want to switch over to Q&A here in a minute. So any last things you want to comment on or say about Gothic and the process to get it out?
I will once again revisit the question you said about resources being tied up. I don't know what the situation is with Catalyst production cycles, but all I can say is I would not have been writing anything else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there was using me to write Gothic didn't take away from anything else. I believe Marco was the one who did most of the art. I believe at the time that was his test. That was his, they wanted to see what he was capable of. So essentially this was his job application, his training paces, whatever you want to call them. So I have a feeling he wouldn't have been doing anything else either. So that's a lot of the work right there before they put everything in the final stages of development. So I really don't think we took away anything that was anything from anything that was urgently going on.
Cool.
If
okay,
that makes sense.
Myth busted. Awesome.
I'd like to think so anyway.
So let's head on over to our Q&A doc. There's a bunch in here. So exciting. So for Herb, what was your favorite unit or named character or major city to nuke, and why?
Favorite unit, named city, or character to nuke, and why? There are so many.
That was from Aaron K. Hall too. So
there's so many. If we're talking about the jihad, or are we talking about anywhere?
Anywhere.
Every nuke that hit Texas in the jihad was near and dear to my heart. I think there were nukes that hit certain cities that I didn't even think about. Didn't think twice about. I think Riga was on our list for something. I think that really had to do with something from back in the IRC chat room days. I think one of the ones we were the most careful with when it came to characters to die was Jamie Wolf.
Ooh.
And we wanted to give him a send-off that was worthy of a legend. And my original plan for that did have him like dying by nuclear explosion, but then I realized it didn't make sense. Another author, another writer came up with something better, and I worked that in instead. I think actually, if you want to get down to it, I think my favorite nuking is the master, at his point of view. On screen, his point of view, we're not going to have there's no body, so therefore he survived. No, you watch him die on screen, and he's looking at it like it's summer rain.
Like Herb on Facebook when people say that Gothic is a ripoff of Warhammer.
Exactly. That's actually the image that I try to make.
117 Aster asks, does the Black Marauder and other mech cryptids like the Phantom of the Arena exist in Gothic, or are they from the Gothic universe and bleeding into reality?
Oh, that's a fun one. I wouldn't know if they're necessarily bleeding into reality, but misjumps are a thing. And as demonstrated in my Empires of Flame adventure, misjumps can apparently drop you into an alternate timeline. But I'm the type of person that would actually go down the rabbit hole of looking up when these things first appeared, and determining what happened. Like someone interviewed me, Sean interviewed me for Sarna, and asked if Bertram Habeas, what would his fate be in the Gothic universe. I'm like, well, he's not even born yet. The Gothic universe is currently, the present time in Gothic universe is 3015, so he's not technically born yet. But then I went on this detailed what would happen if he was, and how his life would have gone differently. And I'm like, and there's a very good chance that he became abominated.
Damn.
And never became a historian, never became a learned professional kind of character that he was. He probably became essentially a frayed monster. But that would be a tale for Gothic's future. So nothing's happened to him yet.
Cool.
But if I found out, say, like the Black Marauder dates back to Star League times and stuff like that, yeah, there might be an equivalent walking around in the Gothic universe. What was the other one that you mentioned?
It was the Black Marauder and other mech cryptids like the Phantom of the Arena.
Yeah. Yeah, because everybody has arenas in the Gothic universe, just about. They use them to test their monsters or to retire their monsters, whichever's more convenient.
Phil Abramowitz asks, why the decision to break up the FWL in the Jihad?
The Free Worlds League had for one thing, the Free Worlds League has always had the greatest number of subdivisions that operate semi-independently. So it's the one that's most likely going to break up and survive in a broken state, and still survive in a broken state. They're also the ones that are completely riddled with the Word of Blake at the time. So when the Jihad erupts, and especially when the Word of Blake has control over all your communications, everybody is getting different, tales of what's going on out there. It's the most logical outcome when it comes down to the Free World League collapsing. It's just the most logical. And it doesn't help when it turns out, after all this time, that the person who's been running the show for the last, generation and a half isn't even who he says he is. That's going to really mess up a government.
Fair.
It certainly destroys the Merrick continuity of leadership when they find out, oh, Thomas Merrick isn't Thomas Merrick. So we have not actually had a Merrick on the throne since Janos. That's how it looks to me, and it makes perfect sense for them to have broken up and yet at the same time lingered.
Kalos's Gaming Table asks, the Jihad had a pretty maligned era for the Jihad was a pretty maligned era for BattleTech. If you had to do it over again, what would you do to improve the perception of it?
It's hard to make any I'm not sure if we could have done novels at the same time. That would have been great. That's probably the biggest thing we were missing. So we're telling the story again. We can't tell it in a post-mortem fashion like most other BattleTech source books on wars. You have to tell it as it happens. When it comes to the Jihad, that's probably part of it, because a lot of the confusion was, a lot of the anger and confusion, well, for one thing, was everybody knew where it was going to lead.
Mhm.
Everybody knew it was going to lead to the Dark Age. And the fans of the Dark Age and the fans of classic BattleTech at the time were at odds. It was a whole different it was almost a whole different demographic. You know, it was the idea of trying to get a younger generation of players who want a faster playing game, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that was part of the reason that I felt people didn't like it. But the other is the continuous fog of war and rumor mill. So the question is, well, what's really happening? Well, you were always told in the next book the timeline would be updated with truthful information, because each book was set 2 years later.
Mm-hmm.
And told you what was really going on. And then there were some aspects that you could never know, not from the perspective of the universe that these books come from. Like, no one ever knew all the details.
Mm-hmm.
And some mysteries would remain for literally decades, as established in later lore. So that was one of the other challenges of the Jihad, is I'm writing for continuity in 2 directions, forward and back. And it all had to fit.
Fair.
Or we're all writing, because every book was a team effort. So,
oh, go ahead. Did you want to finish?
So if the question comes down to what would I do differently, almost nothing, unless we had novels.
Cool. Prussian Havoc asks, do you consider yourself to be the first Wabi, or is another faction your favorite?
Picking a favorite faction is also the kiss of death when you're a writer or developer, because stories rise from conflict and hardship. So when you like something, you beat the hell out of it as a writer. I've always liked House Steiner. I've always been a fan of House Steiner. I have, the Hell's Horses will always have a favored place in my heart. And yeah, I really kind of like the Word of Blake, but I had to get into the Word of Blake's, head and fill in an awful lot. Like I said, there were an awful lot of blanks when the Jihad was first put out. And one of them was, why the hell are they doing this? Why the hell did they arm up for this if it was going to be triggered by something they didn't anticipate? So an awful lot of aspects of Word of Blake motivations I had to create whole cloth to make it work with the Jihad. So for example, the Word of Blake's determination that the clans, were the ultimate threat to be dealt with, that wasn't in the original documents that said the Word of Blake will launch a Jihad now.
Yeah.
It's just like, but why? And there had to be something. So because of that, obviously I would be feeling, favorable toward them, but I also realized they had to die.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they are like destruction incarnate. They have to go away, or the universe can't progress. So I've even developed an affinity for the or sympathy for the Capellans over the years.
Yeah.
Originally, I took them in the same way their original 1984 incarnation was, but then I went, there's more to them. There's more depth in that thing. And there's reasons for why they are the way they are. That make absolute sense. So, basically, one way or another, I like them all.
Awesome. Andrew Dickinson asks. Andrew Dickinson asks, rockets and ray guns, can that be converted to Crimson Skies?
Rockets and ray guns I would not convert to Crimson Skies. Crimson Skies is begging for it. Let's first lay the biggest problem on the table. Crimson Skies is not owned by Catalyst.
Correct.
Catalyst has no access to that IP. It is entirely in the hands of Microsoft. If there was any way to do a Crimson Skies type setting in a BattleTech Continuum product, I would put it with the World War II diesel pump type setting.
Fair.
Because that's where it was set. Crimson Skies was supposed to actually see World War II happen on schedule in its plot arc, which was literally like what I want to say about 2 years. I actually have some Crimson Skies books right here. I want to say it was like 2 years, like set 2 years before the World War II was going to begin. And so I would have loved to have seen those source books happen, but obviously they didn't.
Yeah. Okay. Billy asks, which rejected alt universe was your favorite?
Rejected alt universe was my favorite. Well, for one thing, it's important to note that except for the Tatate adventure that Ray passed on and that I put out for free, none of my alt universes have been rejected outright yet.
Ooh.
They're just not. They're not acting on them yet.
Yeah.
That's
Do we
all.
know, has anybody said like how many there will be, or is that still kind of in the air?
That's in the air.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, it will depend on how successful the line is. Now, from what I'm hearing, Gothic is selling incredibly well. I keep hearing when they showed up at the cons, they sold out.
Yeah.
So I don't know how it's going to be now that we're at regular sale
Right.
level, but they're going out, and evidently when they go out to retailers and stuff like that, they're vanishing fast. And the reception has been so much that, from what I'm told, from what I'm hearing, they're going to actually make minis for the Abominations, which was pie in the sky.
Yeah.
I certainly did not expect that when I was writing their rules. I expected them to do them as standees.
Yeah, we're gonna get a force
That's
pack.
how I pitched them as little cardboard standees. But now evidently there's going to be a force pack. But I understand there is some challenges because the smallest scale Abominations are basically infantry sized to battle mechs. So the details might not come through very well, and that might be a technical problem.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the question?
The rejected alt universe.
Oh, rejected alt universes. So I guess if you want to talk rejected alt universes, that would be the Tatate adventure, because it was actually set in. It's actually set in far future BattleTech. It's set in, I believe, the equivalent of like the year 8000 or something like that. So that would be that for rejected. If we're talking about the ones that haven't been enacted on, but I'll be honest, I'd really look forward to the World War II one.
Okay, cool.
I mean, between having already made rules for converting World War II units to BattleTech, I would have a blast with that.
Awesome. Billy also.
That was a question you had asked. It's all going to come down to how well they sell, I imagine. So if say Rockets and Ray Guns falls flat on its face, there may not be an anime.
Yeah.
But they really do want to do an anime, so maybe they'll still do an anime. But if both of them, if overall it turns out to be more costly than it's worth,
right,
it's going to be a legitimate business decision to say, no, we're not doing it anymore.
Right.
So I guess we're all in wait and see mode.
Okay. It's 1 minute till, so I'll ask you one more question. So a quick answer. Billy asks, are any of the alt universes set in the Ilkhan era?
It's first to there's no guarantee that I'm going to run any of them, or all of them, I should say. There's a very good chance, for example, that I won't even do the anime one,
mm-hmm.
or I'll have only like a secondary role in the anime one. I have been aiming at 30-20s because 30-10s, 30-20s, that kind of thing. Because at the moment I've got the Rockets and Ray Guns one is being aimed at a 30-20 present time. But so the reason for that is that's introductory tech rules, basic BattleTech, because there's only so much we could cram into a box before the box explodes. And so you want to keep your rules close to standard BattleTech play. So once you get to the Dark Age, there are so many fancy pieces of equipment with so many specialized rules. Things are going to get messy. I won't say it's impossible, but you know, I would tend toward the simpler times of the 3020 to 3050 period. You know, when it's Intersphere, Starleague Tech, and the first wave of Clan Tech. Than anything that starts to show up. So basically Jihad and later.
Yeah.
And you start dealing with off the scale stuff.
Fair. Okay. Well, Herb, there were a lot of questions for you. I know there were a couple I didn't get to, and there were a whole lot of questions that weren't for Herb, so I'll try to get to some of those next time. But it was a great conversation, Herb. Thank you so much for your work on this. What an exciting, fun project. And we'll hope to have you back on for the next release. Where once again, Herb Beas ruins BattleTech. So
yes, Herb Beas ruins BattleTech.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Herb. Thank you guys for being here. Next week I am on the road, but so far I think I should be able to make it here unless something happens and I need to be on a plane. So stay tuned. We'll see you guys hopefully next week. What?
Who are we talking to?
Who are we talking to? So thank you guys so much for being here, and we will see you next time. Bye. Still waving.